Hi, this is Paul Banas with GreatDad.com, and I'm here today again with Julian Redwood, who's a family therapist here in San Francisco. And we've got a topic that kind of is an extension of what we've been talking about for the last couple sessions about the relationships that you have with your kids and how important that is. The last one we did a couple weeks ago was about how important it is to jump right in there and be an active dad from the start. But today we want to talk a little bit more about some of the pitfalls that occur when you do create relationships. And I guess the first thing to do is to talk, Julian, about the fact that a relationship with a baby, while it is a baby, it's still like any other relationship, right?
Definitely. I mean, it's a really complex relationship, and they rely on us in a deep, profound way. But they can also rely on us so much that we lose ourselves, and we lose our ability to feel good in the world, actually. Even usually happens more for moms, but as we dads get empowered and get involved, it can definitely become an increasing danger for us to kind of lose, where's our center? Who are we? What are our needs?
Yeah, so that's I guess the first question is, as we jump in and play this larger role, and as you say, we sometimes see this with moms who get so immersed in the kid and they forget about their other relationships to their spouse and with of the world. But is it possible to be too close to your baby? Is that actually possible, or should we be programmed, really wired to be 100% there because the survival of the baby is at stake?
Well, we can be, once again, we can be too close if we end up compromising ourselves and thus not being able to be the parent that the kid needs, nor the adult that we need for ourselves. If we are getting too meshed up in what the kid's needs are, oh God, what does it need now? Where's it at? What's happening? And not feeling ourselves, that's the stereotypical codependent relationship where your happiness is coming entirely from giving to the other being. Babies need a huge amount of our attention. And with moms, there's actually an encouragement to completely fall into that state for a period of time. There was, a lot of great psychologists felt like that rapture that particularly moms fall into while nursing, a kind of almost mild psychosis where everything else fades away and they're just in that bubble with their baby. That's actually a really crucial step for the baby to have. The bonding that happens through the eye-to-eye contact is amazing and profound. And we as dads can provide that as well. We can go in there and have that merging experience. This really helps the baby's brain wire, without which the brain literally does not have the resonance that it needs to know how to wire itself. It sounds profound, but it's actually quite simple if you look at the science of it. So yes, we can provide that for our kids. But you see all too often with moms, they do it to such a level that when it comes to extricating themselves, whether or not it's 6 months in or 3 years in, they have a really hard time feeling, oh, who am I? What am I? Often there's a period of depression and feeling lost. And I do think that for moms and dads, it's really helpful from fairly early on to at least have some periods to go and feel yourself as an individual, separate from that connection.
That's a really important point. I think in our society, we quite often think of these things in really binary terms. You're either 100% there or you're 0 there. If you can't do it all the way, you might as well just give up. And like a lot of, it comes down to a lot of times too, is back to this idea of balance. So that was the next kind of category we want to get into. What does balance look like? Because I think that's hard for people to grasp. Is it 15 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Is it sitting with your, looking lovingly into your baby's eyes for 5 minutes and saying, oh, I gotta get out of the vortex?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think the unfortunate answer is it really depends, right? It takes knowing what your system needs in order to feel sane in that engagement. For a lot of dads, I encourage them or moms to do a thing called special time, where you set a timer and you just go for even 10 minutes and you're just in total follow baby land or follow kid land for those 10 minutes. And that allows you to let go of it all. For some people, otherwise, if they didn't have that timer there, it would be intolerable for them to just kind of be that present. For other people, they can go and they can do it for hours and they forget to actually have 10 minutes to themselves to go take a shower or feed or hang out with friends or feel themselves as an adult. So it really kind of depends on where your proclivity is. But there is a need, if you see yourself just doing all of one thing, Like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not spending any time with my kid. Or, oh my God, I'm spending all my time with my kid. I don't have a social life anymore. That's when there's that need to, like, I think parents, moms and dads, should try to get away like once a week, particularly for moms, is a lot often for them to go out with their girlfriends or go to a movie, something to feel themselves separate, where they're leaving their baby alone with you. It's, nonetheless often intense for them. It helps them to feel themselves as an individual from that early on time. For guys, is usually not an issue, but the same thing can happen where, yeah, we need to go and be silly and not have to be such a good provider. Hang out with our friends, get ridiculous, go to the movies, watch a ball game, whatever it is, go to the gym, however it is that you can feel yourself as an individual, because then you go back to the relationship in that rejuvenated, full manner.
I think that sometimes it's easier for the man, the father, to take that. I remember in when we had kids, a lot of times just saying, why are you taking this so seriously? Your mom is offering to take the kids for the night, or there's this opportunity to get away for a few hours. Why aren't you doing that? And at the same time complaining about how hard it is and how much work it is, yet then at the same time not taking the opportunities to extricate yourself and get some of that time, that balance that we say that is so important. And maybe men have, they're more of an outsider, especially during the first 6 months a year. They're more the outsiders looking in. What advice would you give to fathers in communicating that need to their spouse?
It is a tough one. And I think there is a general, particularly looking outside, whether or not it's the dad looking outside at the bond between the mother and the child, or the grandparents or friends.
There's jealousy there too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So how do you not to recognize that's an amazing period, and there's some value in just completely being, once again, in that bubble of rapture and connection. There used to be so much neat idea particularly within Western medicine, that you need to separate the mother and child. You have to give the child more sense of independence and not getting all the mom's needs met from the child. And then once there was some really great advances, they're like, no, go. That's what the kid needs. State of merging. But yes, we need time apart. But getting a mom or a really engaged dad to take that time. I knew for myself, like leaving my baby when she was even a couple months old, to somebody other than my wife was like, oh, wait a minute, like this doesn't feel right. I don't want to do that. And so there's a way, I think, to honor what feels right for us and to know, no, I want to be here and I want to protect this. And this is an amazing, very short period of my life where I just want to be in this bond with the baby. And who cares about the 3, 6, or even 9 months of that kind of focus? As long as you're in that same time still taking care of yourself and you're not ending up, like so many dads do, drinking or something like that in order to compensate. I mean, to me, my alcohol consumption definitely went up in those first years of having a baby, and I think that's a proclivity for a lot of dads. So we have to keep track of ourselves, but it's definitely also, it's a wonderful thing, and mainly I'm encouraging dads to go more into it and choose to take those opportunities and realize how mind-blowing it is to fall deeply in love with this being and provide for it in a way that, the 98% of the dads don't get to experience until it's, a year old or 9 months old or something like that.
Sure. And like a lot of relationships and a lot of other activities, it is something that the more time you spend with your kids, the more you're attuned to all the different things going on in their lives, whether they're babies or toddlers, or I've got an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old right now. The more you know them, just like any relationship, the more you key off their emotions, their jokes, their activities, things that make them run, and it makes that relationship so much more vibrant. And I don't know how many more times you can really say this, especially to men, about the importance of those relationships, both to you looking back, when your kids start getting older, but also to them, because they need you, yes, to provide for them, but they also need that they need the closest that really only parents can give them, because there's so much trust there. Yeah.
No, what we provide is invaluable for them and invaluable for us too. I mean, that experience of really holding your baby and staring into its eyes is something that so many dads miss out on, thinking that, I'll come in once they started talking and walking in the fun stage. It's like, no, oh my God, it's so amazing to just be there from the start and it affects the kid. It affects the mom because she's not so overwhelmed. The relationship doesn't have as much pressure on it because there isn't the imbalance. Everybody has a better time. But we need to, as you know, we're talking about today, take care of ourselves in the midst of that, support ourselves to, you know, stay grounded, stay rooted, stay healthy, and support our partners. And like you said, it's hard to get them to necessarily leave the kid at home or leave it with grandma. And that isn't necessarily even always the best thing to do. But if you can at least be there for an hour and a half and say, hey, go hang out with your girlfriends, go walk around the block, go to the spa, something where she can start to feel herself. It won't feel right to her, but it gives you the chance also as the dad to bond in a way that's invaluable.
Right. So let's get on to the kind of the last chapter, because maybe it touches on the title of this talk is about being the dangers, and we really meant the emotional dangers of being close to a baby, a toddler, a child. I mean, there's always going to be the potential for loss, and there's an ongoing fear that is very, very painful in the minds of most parents, because you're just always worried that something's going to happen, and that, you know, that fear is just a part of what this relationship is. And I think that's probably the first real emotional pitfall. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing like it, as you talk about the fear of something happening bad to your kid, particularly something happening to their life, is wow. It just, even you mentioning that fills me with this like kind of feeling that, you know, my own death pales in comparison in terms of how scared I am of that experience. And so I think that's part of being that in love with something, and that part of being that much a protector. And I think it's amazing to feel that experience, amazing to value something so much in that way. But the whole thing, being an engaged parent, definitely we're risking ourselves emotionally so much more. It's so much easier to go to work and do the thing that we're good at and get praise for that than to go into the emotionally dangerous territory of really bonding with that kid, and the kid screaming at you and saying you're horrible, and then mom complaining about you. The emotional dangers involved with it on that level are you know, widespread.
Right. And then when you see them for the first time, when they walk away from you, they take their first steps and they walk away from you.
Yeah.
The symbolism of that, you know, the one problem I talk about parenting is that so much of it just falls into the cliche, and it's really easy to minimize these experiences in every person's life because they are so common to us. But at the same time, I think it's really important to, you know, that's their due, because when they happen to you, they are so incredibly poignant, even if they're, you know, a punchline in a bad movie, and that feeling of them being so close to you and then walking away, both, you know, at the beginning was just a few steps, but later on when they go off to camp, when they go off to school, all those other milestones we have to face as parents.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's very hard, and we can really do some damage in that point if we don't know what we're doing. So many parents, usually once again it's the mom, but a really emotionally engaged dad can also do this, where they think, oh no, I need to, where are you going? I need you. Stop, come back. And that's really not good for the kid. Kids, if they feel really loved and safe in the world, they will become more independent and they will go off. Independence is taught through love. Independence isn't taught through tough love or any kind of having to distance them. When they know that they have a safe, good home, they'll go ahead and run off and have a good time wherever they need, and they'll know they can come back to you. But so often when they start to walk away, we're like, hey, where are you going? Give me a hug. Come back here. Can I get a hug? Haven't given me a hug in a long time. And this kind of guilt trip that happens around emotional connection that so many parents do, that actually really messes us up. You see it all the time in men with their fear of merging with women and their fear of commitment. A lot of that comes from moms or dads, because it can happen from dad to girls often, where there's this kind of over pulling by the parent into emotional connection when the kid's actually like, hey, I want to go have fun and take care of yourself. But if we have our emotional neediness there, they read that and then they're like, oh, I got to go take care of my parent. And they feel torn. So it's dangerous in that moment to be that bonded, mainly because we can end up doing harm when they're ready to move on and we're actually not ready to move on, because we're like, oh my God, this has been the most amazing relationship of my life, and now you're going off to do other things. Wow. But if you have a strong relationship with your partner, which unfortunately is all too commonly people don't have it once there's kids involved, then you can turn to your partner and really get that nurturance from them, and hug them and cry and feel the letting go of your child moving on into the world.
There's so many different directions we could go with this. I mean, just from those, especially that time when they're going to school, I think is really a difficult one for parents, because the child may not want to go to school, and all the signals that you send at that point are all about whether you think the child can survive on their own, and you know better than I whether you really are, how you can cause damage to the kid for that, especially for that situation, if you send the wrong messages that you're too needy and can't let go.
Yeah. We can definitely project our fears about, particularly school. I mean, it was amazing when my daughter first went to preschool. I felt that same anxiety that I remember feeling as a kid when I was going to school about, like, oh, am I going to fit in? Are the teachers going to be okay with me? Are the other parents going to be okay? It's like this, we relive our childhood every moment as our kid grows up. And so we need to be really conscious of, oh, what happened to me back then? All right, that's my fear happening here. Actually, the kid's totally fine with going to school. Oh yeah, the kid's a little scared. Well, that's a little scared. We can be with a little bit of fear. We don't have to like go in and overreact in the way that it's so easy to do. And we see them going through the same kind of challenges that we went through. And we maybe had more trauma, small t trauma around those events.
Right. Well, we don't have a lot more time here, but I think I do want to get one idea in here about how parenthood is such a short amount of time that we spend together, and how the family, even though we talk about it all the time as being this huge thing, it's so short, and that a lot of life is about this inevitable losing of things, and that's one of the things that makes life so valuable, because you lose all these things all the way up to your death, and one of those things is the inevitable losing of your children out of the household.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's obvious, but that means that time that you do spend with them is so much more important to maximize at every turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cliche, and yet I say it to myself at least once a day. I'm like, oh my God, this is the day that I'm alive. This is the day I'm with my child. Can I be present for it? Can I enjoy it? Can I savor it? Can I give them the attention they need when they come to me and look at me and I'm caught up in something? Can I just let that go and be like, okay, what do you need? Let's do this. It's such a good thing to tell ourselves over and over again, because like that, they're gone, and like that, we're dead. And let's have a good time before that happens is my motto.
Yeah, a mantra like that is a valuable thing to keep you constantly thinking about how short it is.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us again today, Julian. That was a really interesting conversation, one near and dear to my heart, because mine are getting a little bit older, and I can see the end coming.
Yeah, no, wonderful to talk to you, Paul. As always, honored to be here.
Okay, so Julian Redwood again from Frontal, a number of really valuable videos that are very pointed on a variety of subjects that are going to be very interesting to you if you're a new dad or a slightly older dad. And we feature those both on GreatDad.com and on Pregnancy Magazine. He's a valued contributor to both of those sites. So thanks again, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks.